Hello out there, and welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today we have a real special guest, and I do mean really special. He's president of the Revere City Council, he's co-chairman of the Revere Veterans Committee, and he's my Ward 2 counselor and does a fabulous job for the Nights Out events in August. So, Ira Novoselsky, thank you for taking a busy schedule to come out here, and I do mean busy schedule. I don't know how the hell I got you out of here, but thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, what I'd like to start off with, if I may, you and I were at the Veterans thing on the Paul Revere School a week or so ago. I want you to tell me what you think of how that works out for us over here in the city of Revere, because we do a fabulous job, and I mean the city council and the mayor do a fabulous job, but I'll get to that later.
I'll tell you, the Paul Revere School program is one of the best programs I've seen in the city of Revere, and actually outside Revere. This was put together by Terry Inserto, teacher over there.
And Barbara Kelly.
Barbara Kelly's the principal, of course, but originally Mr. Cabral, who's now at another school, was working with her because he's a vet and he was deployed. And they put this together, and it's been going for at least 10 years that I know of. And I know Dan Clark that comes there every year is a dear friend of mine, and I was the one that got him involved with them at the very, very beginning. And he loved the program so much, he continues to do it, and he loves coming, and you've seen the show, and he puts on a great, great, great show for the kids and the folks.
I like what he does when he picks out the kids to represent the 6 services of the armed forces.
That's right.
And he does a fabulous job singing the national anthem. But I got to ask you a question. You've been a veteran for 27 years. And beside the Paul Revere School, we also have the ROTC at the high school. Could you tell us? We have Major Barker and I believe Sergeant Major Callender.
Right. They are 2 great people, and they are doing such an outstanding job for the first year that they're in operation with these kids. They have around 100 kids involved, and they are out doing all kinds of events around the city. They're doing competitions with other JROTC units around the state. And I know several of the units, East Boston unit and the one from Tech Boston, and I know the leaders of both of those. And they say that Revere for the first year is doing terrific, and I see more to come for them. And may I say, and just to add on to this, is one of the guys that got this program going was Nick Boer.
Right. Nick
was the first one that approached Mr. Garcia, Dr. Garcia, at the high school about this, and he carried the ball through Dr. Dakin, and it's just a great, great program, and I love seeing the kids, and they're so respectful to everybody. They say it's always sir, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am.
I know. Every time I see them, I feel I'm back in the Army, really.
Yeah.
Even me, they say sir. This is a major. And by the way, talking about a major, I want to thank you on behalf of the women of Revere. It was you who gave us the place to put the Eileen Memorials, Women's of Revere World War II. You picked the spot out for us, and I got to tell you, you couldn't really have picked a better spot than what you did. So on behalf of the city of Revere, on behalf of the women of Revere, and all the veterans of Revere, thank you, Ira.
You're welcome. And
Nick Boer and you together.
And may I say, it's, you mentioned veterans, but there's the ladies veterans, the women veterans, to be specific. Right. No, just the regular veterans, women veterans, like Eileen.
Right.
And all the 143 names that are on that stone. And it was very nice doing it. It deserved to be there, there's no question about that. But may I say about Eileen, now everybody may not know this yet, but Eileen received an award as the Woman Veteran of the Year award at the State House last week. And there was quite a ceremony. I was at the State House for Veterans Day, and they told me about it, and they said, Ira, how come you weren't here with Eileen? I said, well, I had another commitment and I couldn't go, but I heard it was a very, very nice ceremony, and the Coleman Nee was there, and Cheryl Poppy, for the Undersecretary for Veterans Services for the state, was there. I'm not sure if Bob was there or not, but I can tell you that everybody's proud of Eileen, and her name was put in by Carol Ty.
Right.
It was submitted by Carol. And when I first heard about the program, I thought she was a great, great choice, and I thought of her right away.
Did you hear that, Eileen? And by the way, that's not going to be your last award. I'm sure there's going to be many more coming on. And it was Eileen who got Major General McWilliams to come down from Washington, not once, but twice,
And it's funny you mention that because I happen to be in Washington, in Richmond, Virginia, actually, during the summer.
Yeah.
And I met a friend of mine is friends with another lady, another service person, and I told her where I was from. I says, gee, you know anything about the women's veterans in Revere? She goes, Revere? She says, yeah, my friend General McWilliams is going up there to speak. I said, I knew that, but I didn't know you were connected with her. She said, we are best friends. We were in the same committee that gave her the money for the stone. And so it was a small world how we got together. And then when I met the general, I mentioned this lady's name, Arlene, and she was all excited that there was a good connection there.
It was a fantastic. I got to tell you, I met General McWilliams at the memorial. But when she was here the first time, she was on the show like you are, and she was fantastic. And we said to her, if we raised the money, would you come back with us to donate the stone? And she said, I'd love to. And then she said to me off the air, but because the cameras were up, she said, we'll make sure we get you the money to make the monument.
And they did.
And they did, and plus. I want to say that. I would also like to thank a few people who participated, and I'll tell you who they are. Lillian from Woodlawn Memorial, her son David.
Right.
And we got to give a Revere resident, I hope I pronounce his last name correctly, and if I don't, forgive me, Paul Ingenzio?
Paul Ingenzio.
Paul Ingenzio, who did from the city yard,
right.
Did a fabulous job making the landscaping around there, because when people came there and they looked at it, Ira, they thought it was out of this world, really. They thought it was beautiful.
Right.
So it was a real community thing that we all did in there.
And it was a good partnership, you know, between Woodlawn, you know, Stones, and,
right.
and the city of Revere, and of course all the veterans that were involved. And I'll tell you, that day they dedicated that stone was so emotional. And seeing all the people that came down to see it, it was just great. It was like another Memorial Day.
But I got to tell you, I've been to a lot of the memorials, and I think you might agree with me. I think that was one of the biggest crowds I ever saw in a long time at the Legion. At the Legion.
And it was excellent for a dedication, because normally we don't get a dedication. We've had the Iraqi dedication, we had the Vietnam dedication, the Korean dedication, the Desert Storm dedication, and this was without a doubt the most highest attendance.
You know, I forgot to mention one thing, and I hope he forgives me. You are co-chairman of the Revere Veterans Committee.
That's correct.
And the reason you're co-chairman, because there's another gentleman who works, but who does a lot of work for the veterans. His name is Al Terminello Jr. So, correct. Al, if you're listening out there, thank you from the veterans and from the people of Revere for what you do for us. Yeah. And I mean us. Thank you.
And Al is not a veteran himself.
No, but he does more for veterans than some veterans do.
Yeah, well, he respects his dad, you know, and, you know, Al Sr., and I've been trying to do many things for maybe 14 years before today, and trying to get all the veteran organizations together, which I'll get to another thing in a second, because I know you're going to mention it. But as far as Al is concerned, he has teamed up with me for the Veterans Day program, which we had last week. And I never could do it myself, and he picked up the ball, and having the barbecues during the year and the raffles and everything to do with veterans. It's just outstanding, and I thank him for teaming up with me and putting the Revere veterans together. And the other thing we want to mention is the Allied veterans, which I was trying to do, and finally we got Nick together with you yourself as the president. And I'm very proud that we got
Allied
Veterans Council, right?
Right, and which is made up of all the veterans in the city, plus the Revere Senior Center, which is...
That's correct.
You know, even though the Revere Senior Center may not be a veterans per se organization, we have a lot of veterans that come there for lunch, and they help us out when we need help.
Right, like, and they support Paul Monty campaign, you know, for the flags.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And for the troops, you know, sending packages overseas for the troops.
I'm glad you mentioned that, right.
You know, so.
I would like to mention one thing to you, Ira. A few weeks back, we went down to Bourne Veterans National Cemetery to put the flags on.
Yep.
And there was about 2,000 people there, but 57,000 graves. That's a lot of graves. May they all rest in peace in there. We put them on. Then we went down the following Sunday, a week later, to pull the flags
You
down.
did. Good.
Yep.
Excellent.
And they want to do that every memorial, and every Veterans Day.
Right.
And the one who originated really with the flags in the Revere to bring Paul Monty up was Mr. Paul Bonfiglio
Right.
from the Bonfiglio Funeral Home. So, Paul, if you're listening out there, thank you from the Revere veterans and the community.
Right.
So anybody that would like to go out there, Ira, be it Memorial Day or November the 11th, Veterans Day, the Sunday before, call Mr. Bonfiglio and register for that. It's an honor to have you come out there and put flags on the grave. Now, my brother-in-law is buried there, Ira, so it was a sad thing for me to go
Right.
out there to see him.
Right.
And a lot of the people that go out there, that went out there, they also saw him.
Right.
So,
And may I say, you know, I
Please.
know that down at Bourne, I've been down to Bourne several times, having been in the military and down, you know, at the military reservation down at the Cape at Otis, and having been at Bourne as the department commander from the Jewish War Veterans, and we did Memorial Day and Veterans Day there, and seeing that what's going on down there is amazing. It's a beautiful facility. But may I say, out of the 2,000 people that you mentioned that were there, 50 were from Revere.
that's right.
With that bus that Paul, the
Yep.
Bonfiglios put together.
And by the way, excuse me, Ira, for interrupting you. I know you're the counselor. You go home. It was donated by Locomotion, that bus. And Locomotion, and
Right.
Paul made a lot of calls. And when Locomotion heard about that, they donated
Right.
that bus.
And may I say two things about Paul. First of all, he put the flagpole together at his property on
Right.
Revere Street in honor of all the veterans. And he has a giant American flag flying there. And he also donated a stone that's in front of the Legion for all the Iraqi, Afghanistan vets
Plus the chairs.
with his name on it. And then he has the benches that he put together for the Soldiers Home, Matola Post, and the VFW in Beachmont. So which have all been, you know, presented and donated to those facilities. So he's done a lot, and I thank him and his staff for all the work they did on behalf of the veterans.
Thank you, Paul, and especially his secretary, Rebecca.
Yeah.
She does a fabulous job. She's the one that takes the telephone calls and makes sure that people get on there. Ira.
Right.
And next year, God willing, if I'm still
Do
kicking,
it again.
we'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll do it
But
again.
it's a proud moment for Revere to send that group down there to work on that. I saw some pictures this morning on Facebook.
On Facebook?
Yes. So, you know, and it was impressive seeing everybody down there and doing that thing. And unfortunately, we had to put the troops together, excuse the pun, to make this happen because the National Cemetery team down there won't allow the flags
At one time.
put there
Yeah.
unless only 3 days before and 3 days afterwards. So we need a team to pull up 56,000, 57,000 flags.
Now, yeah.
You know, 3 days before, 3 days after, and clean up the place. And that's so they can cut the grass. You know, they don't allow any stanchions there or posts, you know, so they can get everything's flat in the ground.
You know, the thing that made me very sad when I was putting the flags down, and for the people that don't know that, they told us how to put the flags. The flags have to go in back of the marker, and there's either a cross, a Star of David, or a crescent. The flag has to go behind the stone. A lot of them put it in the front, so we had to pull it out and redo the flags in there. So any one of us that goes down the next time, remember, it's behind the stone, adjacent to the stone. And Paul was nice enough. He bought about 100 screwdrivers to give to us so we can plug down the holes in there.
Right.
That was fantastic. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. I
Okay.
got you here.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to get you.
Go ahead.
East Boston voted against the casino. Revere voted for it. More people voted for it over than what East Boston voted against it. Without revealing anything that's not supposed to be revealed, how's the future look?
Well, nobody knows what the future will bring, Morris. We're working feverishly to put something together. The door has not been closed. You know, actually, Mr. Crosby, the chairman of the Gaming Commission, has extended an open hand to Revere and Suffolk Downs to submit a proposal. We're working on it. A lot's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. And they have to have a proposal submitted to the Gaming Commission by the end of December.
Right. I'd like to ask you a question, if I may, Ira, as a layman. If Revere, let's say, did get the casino, do they have to give any money, like to East Boston or Everett or Malden, the adjacent towns around the area?
Yes, they will.
They will, or they
right.
have to?
they're called surrounding communities.
Oh, okay.
And all the surrounding communities get a little package deal. They won't get the package deal that we're going to get.
Of course not.
You know, and our package is open from what we signed to renegotiate. And now that we have 100% in Revere, we are going back in to renegotiate and come up with better things for the city.
Does this have to go on the ballot again, though?
That's still in question.
Okay.
A lot of us feel it doesn't because the
We
way
already
the question was worded was, do you want a casino on the Suffolk Downs property? That's all it said. There was nothing signed by Caesars, which is not, you know, there any longer as a operating team, but there was nothing in that package that Caesars signed that would make them responsible in any way. And I use a comparison that if you owned a condominium, you hire a property management company to run the property for you. In this case, Suffolk is hiring a casino management company. They can hire and fire at will. So in this case, they chose not to have Caesars, and hopefully they'll bring in another competitive group to run their casinos for them.
Okay, now that takes care of the casino. We're done with that. Now let's go back to where we live in the city of Revere. The futures. I know you're part of the council. You're the president of the council.
Right now.
Right now. And maybe someday you'll be the mayor of Revere. Right up to Dan Rizzo. Don't worry, you're going to be around for a long time. I'm going to make sure of that. But the future of Revere, what do you really see for us? Oh, before we go into that, I'd like to ask you one question. A lot of the people spoke to me, and I told them I like to see a lot of cameras around the city of Revere. And they say, well, Big Brother would be watching you and all that jazz. I says, if you're not doing anything, it doesn't matter who watches you.
Correct.
And if it wasn't for the cameras, they never would have called the Boston Bombers.
Correct.
And the brother, because they knew by the backs, when they had the pack on, and then later on they saw them without the pack, they know who they were. Does it cost a lot of money to put cameras up in certain spots in the city of Revere? I have no idea. And
It costs a lot of money to put them anywhere in the city of Revere.
Oh, it does?
So, yeah. You know, there's different types of cameras. You know, they're all portable and they're all transmitted. You know, they're not hardwired, so things are different these days. But they have cameras out most traffic signals to see people going through red lights now. You know, not necessarily in Revere, but, you know, around, and that's what we're looking for.
Can they take you from the camera if they see
Absolutely. Absolutely, they could. You get it in the mail. There doesn't have to be a cop there. The cop's on the camera, they see it, they view it, and they write the ticket and mail it to your house. And as far as, you know, being watched, you know, it's protection, it's public safety.
Right.
You know, it's not that we're trying to cheat anybody, we're trying to protect people. And we're asking for cameras everywhere, you know, all the parks for the kids, for the new school. The new school's going to have about 100 cameras in it, you know, when they're through with the new Hill School. And we're putting cameras at the new stadium when that comes up, so.
I got to tell you what else I heard, Ira. I hope this never happens in the city of Revere or never happens in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. About 3 days ago, I was listening to the BBC broadcast. They were talking about taking Colorado, and I want to emphasize the state was Colorado, taking the national anthem out of the school system. Can you imagine? They wanted to pledge allegiance, God bless America, and now they're talking about the national anthem. That would never happen in this city, I guarantee you.
I don't think that would happen here, and I think it's a disgrace that they're trying to do.
I do. People gave their lives for the flags, for the flag for America. To have, I don't understand why they do that, why they even think of doing that.
I know.
Would you tell me the logic?
There is no logic. You know, when someone wants to do something like that,
I mean,
I don't know what they're thinking. You know, I can't look into their minds, but it's not a nice thing. And I remember being a kid. We used to do prayers in the morning.
Right.
You know, and then we do the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning before the school day started. They took out the prayers. They didn't want to mix church and state.
That's what's the beginning, was taking out the prayers.
But
then they went to the
they still have the Pledge of Allegiance. They've changed the words a little since I was a kid.
You know, they said they didn't want to offend anybody. They didn't want to offend the Jews. They didn't want to offend the Christians. They didn't want to offend the Muslims. There's no problem. Have the prayers in the school, but have a minute of silence. If you want to pray to yourself, Do it in any
I'm
language
not
you
going
want.
to get into that conversation.
No, but I do. No, I mean, I think it's controversial. It is.
Yeah.
But there's a solution to that problem. Just have it a minute of silence. So if you want to pray in your own religion, do it. There's no problem.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of schools do it. And also we have a minute of silence to pay respect when someone passes away. Whether he's Muslim, Jew, Christian, makes no difference.
Okay.
Now, what else would you like to talk about?
I have a very important thing to talk about. I know
Go
we
right
have
ahead.
a couple minutes.
No, you got about 5 minutes.
Every day I get a phone call. Ira, I have a tattered flag. What do I do with it? Okay, now, the city of Revere tries to have with Nick Boer and myself, put together a flag retirement ceremony, which is literally burning the American flag.
Right.
And we have a ceremony. We just had one this past year, and they have another one at Massport every June 14th on Flag Day, which you attended with myself.
Right. Thank you for inviting me.
What we're doing, and I have to congratulate a young lady named Lois Nilsson. And Lois said, you know, we have no place to bring the flags. So she took it upon herself for the last 2 or 3 years she's been working on it, and she had the kids up at the Voc, the Northeast Voc, make boxes, like mailboxes, so people can drop off a tattered flag, and there'll be 3 boxes put around the city of Revere. They're working on them and painting them right now with the American flag and red, white, and blue, and so those are being painted right now up at the Voc, and they will be put out, you know, maybe in the spring when they're finished, so people can take their flags, put them in the mailbox or this box, and then Nick and myself or a couple other guys can go around and put them in and take them and have that flag burning. So there will be a place to put tattered flags around the city, and like I said, 3 locations.
That's good.
To be determined. So that's coming up. So I have to thank Lois because she was very heartened by this and wanted to get it done. She was determined to get it done, and she did it, and I congratulated her for all that work.
Oh, I'd like to say one more thing. Maybe you know about it, Mr. Bonfiglio, and I'm talking about Bonfiglio's funeral home. He's got a veterans museum that he started, and for people from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, etc., etc. So if anybody out there has any paraphernalia that they want to donate to the Bonfiglio's Memorial Museum, which is for the veterans, I wish I knew his address. Drop it off at the Bonfiglio Funeral Home. So if you have anything that you have a souvenir that you brought back from where you were and you want to donate it to the museum, Bonfiglio will be more than happy to accept it, Ira. So,
terrific. I'm glad he did that, and I actually have something for him.
Do you?
Yes.
You hear that, Paul? And he'll drop it off himself.
I will drop it off.
Okay, we got about 4.5 minutes. Take 2.5, 3 minutes and talk about whatever. You become the host now. You could even question me if you like.
Well, it's funny, you know, you're giving a microphone to a politician.
That's all right.
It's one of the worst things to do.
It's an honor to have you up there. So
thank you, Morris. No, but, you know, I want to thank you for taking over this. When I spoke to Nick about having a Veterans Corner, which I had called it, I said, Nick, you have to do it. You have to be able to put all information out to the veterans and the folks to let them know what veterans are doing, you know, what has to be done for them, what they need when they're overseas, when they're deployed, and when they come home. And he says, okay, and he's busy like I am, and he says, gee, Morris is the president of the Allied Veterans Council in Revere. Why don't we ask Morris to do it? And we had asked you to do it, and you've been doing it for almost a year now.
Right. And by the way, we're getting close to our 100th show.
Wow, excellent. And may I say, you're a perfect fit for this. In Yiddish, they call a yenti someone that doesn't shut up. And you have something to say.
I know my language.
But, it's really great that you're pulling this off, that you're putting your heart into it. You're bringing in all aspects of people. And sometimes it's not even just veteran stuff.
No, we bring in
it's city stuff and, and senior stuff. And it's really great that you're doing it. And I want you to know that I'm only saying this because you vote for me. Because you live in my district.
I didn't vote for you. I ran against you. But my wife voted for you.
It's really great, and off the cuff and politically, I do want to thank, all the folks down in Ward 2 that supported me and that showed their, overwhelming support for me, and during this election, I had one of the highest vote counts that I've had during my 14 years
That's
know,
good.
on the council. You know, and I've taken over a few extra areas since redistricting, and it's really great to be able to serve the folks around the area. And I like what I'm doing, and I hope to continue to do it for a long time.
I got to tell you, this is a Revere Veterans and Community Show. You don't have to be a military veteran. You got to be a community veteran have done something. We've had people on here that come from Lynn, a nun and a helper that came here that needed things for the homeless children, beds, blankets. She put it on the air, and she got a lot of results. They called me, they say it was good.
Excellent.
Because they're getting a lot of stuff now.
Right.
The same thing with the Historical Society. We had them on. A lot of them are not veterans of the military, but they certainly are veterans of the community, believe you me. So it's an honor to have them on. Now, by the way, we got about 1 minute left, so I'm just going to wrap it up, Ira.
Do you think?
I was going to say it's an honor to have you come up here, first of all, really, to take a busy schedule you got. It was an honor to have you come up here and put up with me for a half an hour, which not many people like to do. And I would like to say next year, and to Mr. Bonfiglio, we're going to try and get you more people to come out. We may only have 45 or 50 this year. We're going to try and quadruple that number by next Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And I want the people out there, especially the veterans of Revere, to put up their time and come out and spend a few hours with us out there, because it's an honor to put the flags on the ones that gave their life for our country. They always say we are the greatest generation, but let me tell you, every veteran that fights for this country is from the greatest generation. And with that, I'm going to say, Ira, God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate
God
it.
bless our troops and the
My
people
pleasure.
of Revere. And God bless our great, great country, the United States of America, for allowing me to live here in a land of the free and the home of the brave. And thank you.